I'm sitting here on a beautiful sculpture by Seattle-based artist Ginny Ruffner. All right, up next is my conversation with well-known TV journalist and host Margaret Larson, who retired at the end of July after an illustrious 35-year career. Margaret spent the last 10 years at the helm of New Day Northwest at King 5, which is where I got to know her, and I am so glad I did.
All right, girlie. When I heard you were retiring, I was happy for you, but also super bummed out because you are truly one of the titans of the TV scene, local TV for sure.
You're
A
nice.
pro.
Thank you.
Well, and you exude solidity, comfort, warmth. I, like so many people, like seeing you on the air.
Thank
So
you, dear.
this is an intervention. You can't go.
That's very kind of you. Thank you.
Well, let's talk about your career. That's what I'm very, very interested in. So you've had a very successful career, including some high-profile jobs, Dateline NBC, NBC News, The Today Show. When you were first starting out, was there anyone in the business that you looked to for inspiration or who you wanted to emulate, not copy, but inspired you?
Yeah, I think probably the first person was Iola Johnson at WFAA in Dallas. I worked in Lubbock, Texas. That's where I started.
Mhm.
At KMAC TV, we were literally located in the middle of a cotton field. But Iola was the first African-American co-anchor, maybe in the country, but she was certainly in Dallas, and she was so good. And she was just one of those people who exuded intelligence and poise, and I realized, okay, I don't actually have to feel all of that. I just need to see if I can, project it a little bit and have mastery over that part of my exterior. And she was a great person to emulate then. And then after that, probably Jane Pauley, who I just loved to pieces. And later, when I worked with her and got to know her, loved her even more.
Mm-hmm. So what's the best piece of career advice you have received?
Oh, yeah. There was a guy when I first started at NBC, and you always wonder when you make a jump like that, do I belong here? What will happen?
Yeah.
And various people would tell me various things, but this one dude told me, forget about doing something they'll always remember. Just avoid doing something they'll never forget.
Oh, that's smart. That is
That was
very
scary, but wise.
well. In your career, lots of highlights. Does any particular moment stand out for you?
Gosh, there are a lot of them. When the Kingdom was imploded, I did live coverage for King, but I also did a story for Dateline, and I did a story for the Discovery Channel because they were in cahoots with Dateline at that point.
Yeah.
And that was all about the science of imploding a dome and how do we do this so that it pancakes down in the proper fashion. And I got to go inside the Kingdom shortly before it came down.
Wow.
And it was like something out of Mad Max. And the dude who was going to do the detonations pointed to some places where there were little red flags, like you'd see maybe marking your chemicals on the lawn or something. And he said, if you touch any of those, we have 15 seconds to get out. And I just thought, oh, yeah, I'm going to die. And that's
My
what
hand.
a way to go, right? I've jumped out of airplanes. I've been in wars. I've seen refugee camps. I've interviewed presidents. I've talked to people at their lowest moments and some of their highest moments. And every last thing has been a responsibility and a joy and an education. And I just don't know that I could have chosen a career I would have enjoyed any more than this one.
Yeah. I'm curious if you ever ran into any sexist attitudes along the way. Anything that
No, of course not. The times were different. When I started in Lubbock, Texas, the control room was filled with hustler centerfolds. The guys who put those up all around. That makes you feel really welcome when you're 20 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And it took about a year to talk management into seeing that might not be a professional setting and didn't really make for a welcoming environment for the women they were finally hiring. And I worked with a co-anchor who had it in his contract that he was to say the first and last word of every newscast.
Oh God.
And he had to have the lead story. And that was something that really irked me when it became apparent that our research and our ratings were equal and that this didn't need to be happening.
Yeah.
When I brought it up to management, they said, well, it's tradition. And I
Uh-huh.
said, well, is it tradition like Thanksgiving turkey or tradition like whites and not whites water fountain? And
Well said.
well, it really irritated me because there was no reason for it other than that the guys were the guys. And I like these men. They were all fun friends to this day,
Hmm.
but they just didn't see it.
Well, so in the 2000s, I know that you took a break from TV.
Mhm.
You became,
Did.
believe it was VP of Communications for Mercy Corps.
It was 2001. It was when we, after September 11th, when we began the bombing in Afghanistan, I took a leave of absence and spent 3 months doing stuff along the Pakistan-Afghanistan border, and a lot of it was the same sort of thing that I had seen as a foreign correspondent. And I started really thinking about, could I withdraw from news, maybe do this for a while, and I ended up doing that and spent 7 years doing that work with Mercy Corps and World Vision and PATH and Opus Prize and blah blah blah.
And why did you want to do that kind of work?
There was one story in particular when I went up, I was covering the Persian Gulf War, and I got sent to Slopi, Turkey, southern Turkey, where the Kurdish refugees were fleeing Saddam Hussein. Just a super bad scene. And we got there like a day after Doctors Without Borders, and we would ride motorcycles up to the top of this mountain where these people were living in the cold and the mud and just, trying to get away from this horror. And I saw these people doing something, and as much as there's a power of telling a story, it's not really the same as, could I do something that is targeted to helping this person or that person? And so I think I just wanted something that was a little closer to the things that were disturbing me about the world. And I feel that way a little bit now too. I feel like this is a great time to maybe transition back towards that kind of activity.
Mm-hmm. Now, 2010, you are drawn back.
It's a new day.
Now from K5, here's Margaret Larson.
What did New Day offer you that you hadn't experienced at that point?
Well, a couple things. There was going to be a live audience. It was going to be a really local show that was supposed to be positive and informative and about this community that I love. The other cool thing was to be part of creating it.
Was there any particular learning curve or difficult thing that you had to kind of get down that you didn't kind of have going in or didn't know if you had going in?
Yeah. I subbed on the Today Show, and most of the people who came on the air were, politicians or actors or whatever. You didn't really have a lot of civilians who came in to be interviewed,
Right.
Sometimes, but not that much. I think the learning curve for New Day was that because we're doing super local things, there were lots of people who've never been on TV or never talked about a personal thing on television that might relate to a nonprofit or whatever. So I think it was really having to hone some skills to make sure that I made people comfortable to do all the things you do. You mirror a little bit, you make sure you make contact, that you're present for them so that they can speak and do their best.
So if you were going to interview Margaret Larson, what do you think someone might want to know that they don't?
I'll tell you, when my dad got out of the service, we were poor. We lived in a trailer. There was, not much assurance that I'd get to college or any of that. And it was sort of the generation of parents who thought the best you could hope for is, maybe do a couple years of college and get married or whatever. So there wasn't, and, I lived in Lubbock, Texas during the time of the Equal Rights Amendment, being just blown to smithereens by everybody around me. There wasn't a lot of encouragement for the things that I wanted to do. And so I think there was something also though in the air about my friends and the people who happened to be there as mentors, that I was so fortunate that they let me know that I didn't have to fit the cookie cutter and that I could go if I wanted to. And that I would like to offer to everybody who wants to do something, especially little girls, that it's okay if you haven't seen somebody do the thing that you want to do, or you haven't seen very many of them, or you are told you're not supposed to, or whatever. Just do you, and everything's going to be fine. It's going to be okay.
Well, Margaret, thank you so much for talking with me. You are a talented. I always start to cry.
Don't cry. You'll make me cry.
Okay. You are such a stellar human being. It has been truly a pleasure to work with you over the years. I've just adored it and enjoyed you so much, and I think so highly of you. And like I said, I don't want you to go, but I want you to go because I know that you're going to grab it. You're going to grab the big brass
Thanks.
ring.
I think that it's good to leave a little time on the other side, right? To do the things you really want to do. And I feel the exact same way about you, Nancy. You've given people so much joy and pleasure and laughter over the years, and then delved into the arts community in a way that has made a difference in what kind of arts are available to us and what people know about. And I love you and Joe, and I'm just delighted that you wanted to talk to me.
Well, the delight is both ways. Thank you so much, darling.
You too.
Bye.